Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. Man, that was a lively hour. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. That's what we do on this show. We give you our opinions, we give you our takes from a Vegas perspective, and then we give you your voice and your chance to comment on really anything that we're discussing here. And, you know, we talk a lot about gun laws. We talk a lot about red flag laws. We had 58 people die on October 1, the biggest mass shooting in American history. And I would imagine if you are a decent human being, you would say, we don't want innocent people to die at the hands of gun violence, right? So what's the answer? Well, I think there's a lot of answers. Mental illness. I do think we need red flag laws in place. I do think we need to get rid of some of these assault weapons, but there's a lot of different reasons. So I'm reading an article talking about red flag laws, and there is a group that is seeking to block the enactment of this Nevada red flag gun law. And a woman by the name of Tina Trenner, you might have heard her because she does a show here every Sunday at noon at a Pahrump. And she is actually the spokeswoman for the Henderson-based Citizen Action Network against these red flag laws being put into place. And I figured it'd be great to have her on. So I appreciate you coming on with us, Tina. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, Tina. So a lot to get to, but make the case for me. Why do you think that red flag laws should not be put into effect in this state?
Well, because I believe in the United States Constitution the way it was written. A red flag law has not one part of it, but there's several parts that are in direct violation of the Constitution. Due process of law is removed. You're innocent till proven guilty, wrong. You're guilty till they say whatever they say. You have no ability to face your accuser because your accuser can remain anonymous. There's just a lot of reasons that, of course, shall not be infringed. Just doesn't seem like people understand English anymore. How much plainer can you be than shall not be infringed?
Okay, well, I understand English for the record, but I and we disagree, which I think is okay, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show. Let me ask you a question then. For a woman that receives a text messages from her husband, the husband says, I'm going to shoot and kill you tonight. She calls 911, the police come out. Worst case scenario for that guy, he gets taken in, he gets a misdemeanor for threatening somebody, but he's allowed to purchase a gun that night. The evidence is overwhelming through the text message, and he even admits it. You're telling me you're okay. Forget about the Constitution for a second. I'm just speaking in logical terms. I'm speaking English. You're telling me that you're okay as soon as that husband gets out of jail after he's fingerprinted and all that stuff and admits that he threatened the life of his wife. You're okay with him stepping out into public that same day and purchasing a weapon? You're totally fine with that?
I'm not necessarily fine with that. But
well, that's what we're talking
laws.
about.
Wait a minute. We have other statutes. We have other Nevada revised statutes. I talked to my sheriff yesterday. Sharon Worley out here in Pahrump is a constitutional sheriff. And I asked her about the red flag laws. I asked her, and she said, we have other laws that are in place that we can use. She said, we don't need that one. And quite frankly, she says it stomps on a whole lot of things.
All right. Well, okay. So
yes, there are other laws that that authorities can use if indeed there is someone who is that wacky. Now, drugs in our society have created issues that we really didn't have years ago. I agree with that. And the drug issue and fried brains are a definite issue in our society, and I can't deny that.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. Okay, that's fair. I think we need to be more clear with some of those laws, and I would like to get somebody on the line that can clearly speak to that. But let me ask you this. What happened in Parkland with the mass shooting that killed that nut job who went into that school and killed so many of his classmates? The police were called to his house 48 times. Now, you could make the assessment, and I think it would be fair to say that the police failed that community. But with that being said, if there were red flag laws in effect, that kid would not have been allowed to purchase a gun legally, would he not?
Here's the thing. You cannot, okay, do you remember the movie with Tom Cruise, The Minority Report?
I do, yes.
Okay, that is exactly what, we're almost there. with the red flag laws. You haven't committed a crime, but we're going to come and confiscate your belongings and to prevent
You don't have
you from
but
doing it.
but you said commit a crime. What if somebody wants to kill themselves? That's not committing a crime. If they're suicidal and they're depressed, so you're saying you have to commit a crime? What about somebody that wants to end their life? You're okay with them purchasing a weapon? That's not committing a crime. They're just depressed. They're going to harm themselves.
Are you really serious with this conversation? Because
yes, I'm 100% serious,
okay,
Tina.
You can drive off a cliff. You can go get yourself more opioids than you've already got.
So you're okay with somebody?
You can do a whole lot of other things to kill yourself without using a gun.
So you're okay with someone who is suicidal that wants to kill? You're okay, and your explanation and your defense to that, with all due respect, is, well, he can drive off a cliff, so let him purchase a gun. That's your defense?
No, I'm saying that you cannot prevent someone from doing something they're intent on doing.
You can make it a lot more difficult on them, like maybe not going into a gun store and purchasing a weapon. Would you not agree with that?
No, I say that you cannot. You can block them there, and they'll go figure another thing to do. You cannot change their mind if they're intent on doing it.
See, here's what
it's the same thing.
Here's
it's the same thing with the shooter in Las Vegas. Excuse me. The Las Vegas shooter.
Okay, so I guess
he didn't have a record.
Listen, I agree with you that if somebody is severely depressed and if somebody wants to kill themselves, if they're not able to purchase a gun, they will probably go to other means to do it. But I don't think that should mean that we will allow. Here's where I'm going with this. Okay, I talk to people that are think that more guns are the answer. They don't want AR-15s off the streets. They think it's fine. And here's the argument that they put out. I think it's very similar to your argument. They say, well, listen, if somebody wants to go into a school and kill a bunch of people, they can just use a car or they could use a knife. And I just don't agree with that argument. I think we need to make it more difficult for people to purchase certain weapons. And I also think if somebody could be a detriment to themselves or others, let's just say worst case scenario, Tina. Worst case scenario, you have a husband that maybe threatens his wife or is acting irrationally. And worst case scenario, he's not allowed to purchase a gun for a week. He gets a mental evaluation. The psychologist says, listen, this gentleman is fine. He's allowed to purchase weapons. That man was inconvenienced for a week. It's a lot better than allowing somebody to get out of jail and purchase a gun and kill people. That's just my opinion, Tina. We might disagree on that.
Well, no, they have cooling off periods. I don't know if we have one in this state, but I know there are places where they have what they call cooling off periods before someone can buy a gun if they've been in some. But what you're missing the point. The point is that you cannot remove guns from people who legally own them. Oh, let's go back to the suicide thing.
You can.
Women do not shoot themselves almost across the board. Women do not shoot themselves when they kill themselves. They take pills. So that's, put 50% of mostly 50% of the population that wants to kill themselves off.
But that doesn't change my opinion.
And most men already own a gun if they're men, okay? Real men, most of them love to have guns. They love to shoot. They go out to the
hold on a second.
range.
That was weird. Hold on. So you have to be a real man to own a gun. So if I don't own a gun,
I kind of think in our society today there's a whole lot of soy boys.
So you think okay? So let's talk about that. You think pinching your pinky on a weapon makes you a real man?
No, I think that men that have been through the military, men that have been through protecting their family, men who understand protecting their family.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think, I refer to my father, of course, who was in World War II and who totally understood protecting his family. And our house had several guns, and no one touched them. I learned how to use one.
And I'm happy to hear that. And listen, your father sounds like a very responsible guy. And
he was.
I have no doubt. I take you for your word, and it sounds like that. And I have make no mistake about it. I have no problem with good citizens that are responsible citizens that haven't commit felonies that are not mentally ill carrying a weapon. I've never wanted to take that right away from anybody.
You can't say that I've heard you on the radio a couple times.
Okay.
Talk about you have girlfriends and you run around. So if you had a girlfriend that really you and she really had a big fight,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes down to the police and says, you know what, this
Mhm.
guy's really dangerous. He scares the hell out of me. We just had
Okay.
this big fight.
Sure.
They can actually, with the red flag law,
Uh-huh.
they can come to your house and confiscate your gun.
Okay, well, here's my
without
response
you
to
having
that.
Any due process.
Well, and the concern to something like that is, it's not so much a situation, and that's obviously an extreme that you just described. But what about the situation?
Well, let me just respond to what she said, though.
With the Parkland shooter.
I asked about that, yeah.
Who had had
I asked her about
the
that.
police 91 times
Right.
show up at
I asked her about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I already
Well,
asked her
I
about
mean,
that.
I cannot speak for law enforcement.
Let me respond.
Were they negligent? Were they negligent? Did they not? What did they do? I mean, I don't know if they don't have other laws on the books. I'm telling you what my sheriff said.
Okay, well,
in this state,
I understand.
we have other laws to deal with it.
Okay, so let me respond to what you just said. If I'm talking to first of all, I don't own a weapon, so that would never happen. Number one. Number two, let's just say I get into a verbal confrontation with a girl, and let's just hypothetically say I own a gun, because that's what the position you're trying to put me in. First of all, I didn't say that. What I said was, if somebody threatens somebody's life, if you're in a verbal confrontation and there's physical violence and that man owns a gun, that is a completely different circumstance than a woman and a man getting into a verbal confrontation with absolutely no evidence. I have no priors. I've never been arrested before. Now, Tina, I don't agree with that. So we will agree on that situation. I don't think
You
someone's...
believe that due process is important.
Well, but that's a very sketchy situation. Here's what I'm saying. There's two different things we're talking about here. You're talking about a verbal confrontation and a woman making something up. What I'm talking about is a threat, whether it's through text message, proof of a threat, or physical violence, or somebody that has prior history. Now, if that is the case, I am okay with them taking that person's gun away until they are checked and made sure that they are not a detriment to themselves or to others.
But that's not what the red flag law is. In fact, let me cite an incident. There was a gentleman, 87 years old, I think he is, and he's a crossing guard at a school in Massachusetts. And one of the crossing guards at another street for the school hadn't shown up for a couple of days.
Uh-huh.
So he was sitting at a coffee shop, well known to people, I guess, in the area, with a friend of his. And he was talking about the fact that the other guy hadn't shown up for a couple of days at the crossing guard, down at the other corner. So his comment was, somebody's really going to get hurt at that school. Meaning that if they didn't replace him and get another crossing guard down there, that one of the kids might run out and get hit by a car or something. However, the lady, the waitress, pouring his coffee at his table only heard him say, someone's really going to get hurt at that school. She went and reported him. They went to his home, an 87-year-old man, a veteran, and they went in and confiscated his gun with no due process of law. And it took him quite a while to where he could understand what they were doing or why.
How long did it take for him to get his guns back?
I don't know if he ever got them back.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
So here's my response to that. I am sorry that happened, but my response to that is this. I would rather have, and I wish it would never happen, but I would rather have a veteran get his guns confiscated than have somebody walk into a school and kill innocent children. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying?
And that's hard to disagree with.
What you don't understand is that when they do this, you then have the burden of proof to prove that you're innocent. You have to hire an attorney. He had to hire an attorney, and it cost, according to what they're telling me, between $50,000 and $100,000 to get your name cleared, get back to the court system, and get your guns back.
Okay, but it doesn't change my opinion. I told you I don't agree with that. It's wrong,
Well,
and I feel bad for.
Ignoring
No, I'm not ignoring it. I'm not
constitutional right to it. No, you are.
No, I'm not.
Let me ask you this: How many
your constitutional right?
How many examples? How many examples like this do you know of? Just one?
Me?
How many examples similar to this one do you know of?
No, there's been a couple. There was one guy that they killed.
Okay, there's been a couple of these, but there's been dozens of school shootings with people that have actually died.
These laws are just being instituted. So I don't know that there's a lot of anecdotal.
You're making examples based on the extreme, which is not going to happen on a consistent basis, and there's ways around that. There, you can. I'm sure they can set up something where they can have a court-appointed attorney or a state-appointed attorney or something along those lines to reduce those costs or to mitigate the risk on the person who's losing their guns. But the point is, there's been dozens of shootings and hundreds of kids have died due to this.
You're assuming, I'm not saying that it's okay to pick up a gun and go shoot people. That's what you gun grabbers like to say, but it's not what I'm saying.
Whoa. I am not excuse me. No, I am not.
We're just making reason of the situation.
Tina, I am not a gun grabber. We're having a respectful conversation. No, hold on.
I hope you're not.
We are we're having I'm trying to have a respectful. Hold on a second. We're trying to have.
I do like your fire, Tina.
I appreciate your passion. We're trying to have a respectful conversation, and that is what I hear from the right, and I can't stand that argument that people like you. Yes, I'm going to say that. I'm going to label people like you now, Tina, because you labeled me. People like you seem to think that everyone on the left, and by the way, I'm not on the left, but everyone that wants to take all your guns away, okay? That is not the case. There is not one person in office right now that has said on the record, we want to take all your guns away. This isn't about the Second Amendment. What they're talking about is they're talking about a certain type of weapon, weapons of war, okay? So my question to you is this, and I am not a gun grabber, and I said on the record 5 minutes ago that your father seems to me to be a very responsible father, and I would never take that right away from you. So I am, with all due respect, I'm not a gun grabber. So my question to you is this. What is your answer? There weren't school shootings when I was in high school. Gun violence is higher than it ever has been, okay?
Why is that?
Well, I'm asking you the question, and I want to know what your answer is. If you're not,
I cited it a few minutes ago. Drugs.
That's it.
I believe that drugs have, I believe that's one of the demoralizing.
It's a combination of things.
So wait a second. You're telling me in the 90s drugs weren't around?
Yes, drugs have been around for a while, but they have not been. Have not been as accepted and as normalized. There used to be a stigma to doing drugs. There's really not a big stigma anymore. Now it's like a disease, and you aren't criticized or looked at.
It's a quick solution.
You need
these
to
days.
Control your own personal responsibility.
And I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
And I'm not, and I don't. And let me say this to you, as far as the gun grabber, I am listening to people telling me things about taking guns away. You've got I don't know how many gazillion Democrats running for president right now, but each and every one of them have said, my first day in office, I'm going to ban guns.
No, not one. No. That is factually inaccurate. I'm not going to let you get away with that. There is not one person running for president that has said, my first day in office, I'm going to take away all your guns. With all due respect, you are wrong. You got to get your facts right if you're going to say something like that.
No.
Not one person has said that.
Harris,
they have not, excuse me, they have not said they're going to take all your guns away. You are misrepresenting what they are saying.
Beto O'Rourke was the one that made the most aggressive statement.
And even he didn't say that.
And he talked only about assault rifles.
Well, they are talking about a specific type of weapon.
Have you read the Federalist Papers?
Have you actually seen one of the debates?
Have you read? No, I wouldn't watch them.
Okay, so you don't watch the debates, but yet you know what every single Democrat says about guns. Is that what you're saying?
I do research. I'm not
what
going
type
on
of?
the air.
Okay, so please tell me what news publication or research you did that would lead you to believe that the Democrats that are running for president, or as you said, hundreds or whatever you just said,
zillion.
Okay, fine.
She said
then I would like you on the record.
I believe is 46 zeros.
Then I would like you to give me one Democrat that is running for president, one that specifically said that they want to take all your guns away. Please list me one, and I'll gladly hear you out.
Okay. Bloomberg is probably one of the most aggressive. He spent $50 million.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you.
Wait a minute.
But you're talking about something else. I'm going by your statement that you just said on the air on a 50,000-watt radio station, so I'm going to ask it again. Bloomberg has never said he wants to take all your guns away. Give me one person running on the Democratic side that has ever said they want to take every single one of your guns away the first day you're in office. Now, if you misspoke, I will gladly give you the opportunity to retract what you said, because what you said is not factually accurate. I'm giving you a chance.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I know this guy isn't running for office.
You just said all the people running for office said that.
They have, all right. they blanketly have made comments that they're going to get rid of guns. And if you're denying that they said they're going to get rid of guns.
That's not what you said. That's
and
not what you just said.
You know how you eat an elephant? You know how you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. They have taken away our gun rights.
You know how...
Very valid point there.
I mean, Tina, listen, I like you, and I appreciate your passion, okay? I really do. But the only point I'm trying to make, with all due respect, is if you have an opinion, make sure it's fact-based. I'm sure you would...
My opinion is fact-based. They have all
No, it's not. You haven't...
They want to eliminate guns. Okay, you want to take it to the very max.
I'm not taking it to the very max. You have. They're talking about assault weapons. They've never said they want to take all your guns away. With all due respect, you're putting yourself in a corner. You're making it worse.
No. Wait. I'm asking you, and you didn't answer my question.
Okay, sure.
Even
though you didn't answer mine.
I got one question for you, Tina.
Have you read the Federalist Papers?
Have I read the Federalist Papers? I don't know what papers you're talking about.
Seriously? Okay. What the Federalist
What do you
Papers
mean seriously? You haven't even answered my question yet.
No, but you have an uninformed opinion about...
I have an uninformed opinion? You just said all Democrats... No, I'm not going to wait a minute. You just said... No, you're going to listen to me now, okay? This is not your show. I cannot believe what is coming out of your mouth, with all due respect. You just said on this show that all Democrats that are running for president want to take all your guns away, and you're telling me that I'm the person that's... and you're the... Stop it with the federal papers, okay? You can't name me one president, not one person running for president on the Democratic side that actually did say something like that, and you're telling me that I'm uninformed? You've called me a gun grabber. You've called me a gun grabber in this interview.
That is the message that
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
That's the message I'm getting from them.
All right, Tina, question for you. If having a gun makes you a man, in your opinion, and say, let's say you have an assault.
That was kind of tongue in cheek.
I know. We'll say it was 60-40. Right. But let's say you have an assault rifle and you want to go hunting with that assault rifle. And when you hunt with an assault rifle, you're basically cheating because the animals are...
I agree with that. I don't even like hunting.
Okay, so...
but let me ask
you don't think that men with guns to hunt with are more men? It's all about having a gun at home to protect your family?
Like I said, I was being tongue-in-cheek. My point was, and with the Federalist Papers, and I'm going to make this point, if I please may.
Sure.
The founders wrote a collection... I'm surprised he doesn't know this. The founders wrote a collection of papers on why they were writing the Constitution and the amendments the way they did. And they wrote extensively about why they thought we should have the Second Amendment to be able to protect ourselves in our homes and from the government. And they wrote that we should, I believe it was John Jay that wrote, in the Federalist Paper 29, if I'm not mistaken, that all citizens should have the same armament that the government has. Now, you may not like that, but that's what they wrote for their reasoning.
Right.
Well, then we should have stealth jets and heat-seeking missiles.
I guess we should have.
We should have nuclear weapons.
I guess we should have bazooka guns, and I should have a tanker in my front yard, Tina.
No,
okay.
I understand that they didn't foresee.
Okay. Well, okay.
They have to revisit it to match modern technology.
Okay.
They wanted us to be able to protect ourselves.
Right. And you can protect yourself, if you're a law-abiding citizen, and as I've said about a gazillion times, as you would say in this interview. But here's my problem, okay? And by the way, again, I appreciate you coming on. You knew that we were going to disagree and get into a spirited debate, and I respect you.
I knew that. I was positive.
And I respect you for coming on and doing that. I really do. But with that being said, in this 25-minute interview, you've called me a gun grabber. You've said guns make you a man. You've also said you were...
I said I was doing that tongue-in-cheek.
Okay, well, you've also said that you were surprised that I don't know certain things. I'm going to tell you what I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you would actually think that Democrats and all those that are running for president, you would make a statement that they have all said that they want to take all your guns away when you haven't even watched one debate. I'm sorry, Tina, but with all due respect...
I didn't watch the debates, but I've read stuff that they've said.
On what? Where?
I'm following it. I just don't take the time to listen to them on the debates. But certainly read everything they've said.
Tina, I understand. I appreciate and listen.
That counts.
I'm going to give you. I'm glad that you do a show here, and it's every Sunday at noon, and I hope people will listen to it. And I think it's very important to have these types of discussions. And even though we disagree with one another, it's good to have a spirited debate. And I got to tell you, in the future, you're welcome to come in studio, and we could have another discussion. I will gladly do that with you. Okay, Tina?
That would be fun. Eyeball to eyeball.
All right,
Okay.
Tina. I appreciate
All right.
your time. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tina.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. I got to tell you, I try to be respectful with guests, but that was tough. That was tough. That was tough. But anyway, we appreciate her taking some time to join us. There's not one Democrat that has ever ran for office that said they wanted to take all of your guns away that is running for president. And then she kind of backtracked a little bit. If you're going to make opinions, you better be factual on this show. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this with comedian Chad Prather.